Eve paints.
Hey folks, welcome to another 3D printing Patreon preview. I have 193 campaigns to share with you today. Huge thanks to my patrons, especially those you see on screen right now. Links in the description to some of their Patreon campaigns. If you'd like to see your logo at the start of every episode, head on over to my campaign page to sign up. Quick content warning, some of these campaigns contain heavily objectified models. Link in the description to a video discussing why that needs a content warning. K-Scale Models is making new parts for your Gunpla. These are Paladins and Demons from Goblin Art Studio. Guardian's Destiny has several ogres from different walks of life. BT Minis has a free adventurer and a couple free monsters this month. This creature bust is a free download for you from Homunculus Creations. Here are 4 creatures for you from JG Sculpts. Arch Colobas has Space Marauders this month. Elliot 3D has these 2 wood golems for February. This Forest Folk set is the February release from Rotten Key Miniatures. Downtown 3D Printing have several new units for a sci-fi Beastmen army. Iconic Minis has a free Stench Demon model for you. From Tentacle Art, this is Elmo Kruger. WTH Studios has a bunch of goblins, as well as several new adventurers. Channel patron Sculptor's Cave has a crazy little army of kobolds. Here are 6 new goblins from Dungeon Dog Miniatures. From Stormcrow, here are 1st and 2nd edition Catoblepas. The Hedgehog vs. Dr. Dwarf's Rusty Robots is the February release from Lost Hobbyist Miniatures. KLT Studio has some new Aliens-looking minis for January, as well as a peek at what's to come. The Surreal Factory has a new Forest Nymph, Warlock, and Gory Dead Bodies. Golden Dragon Games has new Jeeps, half-tracks, and flame tanks. This is Ellie, the latest bust from 3DS of Sam. Reiko Vendetta has new Sons of Destruction, a Blood Dungeon, Birdfolk Paladins, and more. Blue Wyvern has a set of Black Fang Goblins for their January release. From Miniatures Blueprint, this is a Seductress. This is the Face Stealer tribe from Realstone. From channel patron The Hive, here is their fantastic X97A Tiburon tank, or X87A Splendid Transport. This is Goblin Clan Season 2.5 from Lord of War Miniatures. Vinci Miniatures has a set of modular, hard-armored Ratmen this month. La Louve 3D has 3 Yuan Ti and a Quetzalcoatlus. Print, Paint, and Play have a collection of what appears to be alien scientists and their experiments. Polygrim is working on a Cthulhu cult this month. Bob Naismith has new market stalls, a finished truck, 15 underhivers, and a grav bus. Your Neighbor Night Minis has 2 new warriors to finish off their Japanese-themed release. Arcanum Workshop has an Archangels pack, as well as a preview of models to come. From Hollow Miniatures, these are a Frost Phoenix and Frost Phoenix themed Flame Wardens. Meet the Overpharaoh, Ancient Commander from Starpharaoh Foundry. This is an A7VU, a World War I German tank prototype from Panzer Printer. These are Centigores from Empire Miniatures. Celia Miniatures has several more January zombie minis before moving into the fantasy for February. Here are 7 Gunslingers for February from Gangfight Games. KMFP Designs has a small army worth of Orbital Knights. Mecha Miniatures has a mob of Rocket Boys coming after you. Here is the completed January Jungle set from Savant 3D, as well as a look at the Temple of Rock Giants coming in February. Ratman Forge has new mages, demons, and more. The Empire Rises is the February bundle from TPK Lab. Valkyrie's Playground has new jet bikes and an Osiris pattern dreadnought. Here is a boat mimic from August McDaniel. Combat Octopus has a set of 6 Middle Eastern or North African civilians. Claudio Cassini has a new Elemental Wizard, Succubus, and 75mm Cyborg. The Iron Path Orc War Camp is the February set from Nova Minis. channel patron Lost Heresy has now added a bridge crew to Away Team Red, and is working on alien Dorn guns. My newest channel patron, Tordo Minis, has new Dragon Dynasty Jade Bannermen, and Eternal Pharaoh's Skelly Cavalry and Bone Chariots. Here's previews of the Fantasy Minis and new Modern Day Survivors that Colossal Miniatures is working on. Max and Raw has a set of Grim Dark bases and a Cromwell tank, free downloads. Rebel Base Build is working on a Naboo Starfighter and Jeddah Rogue One market set. Here's a couple Harpies and a Priest of the Hammer God from Magori Miniatures. My Pokeprints has a Yoda Chew as their final January model. These are the first 3 models of a Nihil squad coming from Studio DR. Zandoria Studios is working on Mines of Moria pillars, and always has more gnomes coming. Channel patron Blue Art is back with a new batch of strange biomechanical creatures. Red Nebular is working on Forest Hoppers and more big bots this month. Lion Tower Miniatures is working on a collection for the Descent into Avernus campaign. Kraken's Vault has the Medusa Queen and a bunch of Spartans to fight her. 2 Gargoyle Studio has new armored utility trucks, super heavy Rhino Cavalry, and Werebears. Mr. Modular has new Beast Hunter heads and a full multi-part Warlock set. Crosslances has these 3 listed as Horror Adventurers. Warblade Studio has sculpts of a bunch of big-name Star Wars characters this month. Print and Paint Miniatures has some Trolls and Tribal Folk. Nuclear Firefly has 2 new comic book models this month. "3D Hexes" has a whole bunch of floating islands and temples. New Survivors, props, and a great big zombie from Vault Z. Maddox Historical has infantry for the American War of Independence, canoes for the French Indian War, and more on the way. Legion Miniatures has a flock of 15 new superheroes, villains, and agents. Dragon's Forge Miniatures has finally released their first set, Von Keelhall's Drakenreef Pirates. Heroes and Beasts has a Gnome Artificer and a Triton Merfolk this month. New models from Naga Minis include Rabbit Monks, Corgi Fighters, and a Tiger Warrior. These are the Daughters of Artemis, Amazons by Labyrinth Models. The Dragon's Lake Miniatures has Sky Heralds, Knights Forlorn, and more for their February set. This is the Scarlet Terror from Hive Delta. Creature Armory is working on a Daredevil model this month. Albino Raven Miniatures has new models with pistols and a SWAT team. Sable Badger has Tilestone hexagonal towers and a Wargaming ruler. This is Skadi, the Norse goddess of winter, from Bella Noct Miniatures. This is Primal Heart Eldark 2 from Battle Yak Miniatures. Here's one last January model from Crucible of Games, as well as a look at what they're working on for February. Tiny Furniture Digital is working on a little library reading corner. This is the Coffin Maker's Shop from Dragon Workshop. Void Realm Minis is suffering from an invasion of the Eye Monsters. Galad Miniatures seems to be fighting off some sort of unholy plague. Ilhadiel has some piglets, a banner bearer, drummer, and more for their Borg army. New models from Fantasy Cult Miniatures include a Necromancer, Undead Dragon, a Zombie Giant, and more. Mini Rat Studio has small-scale mercenary swordsmen and other units. Warp Miniatures has part 2 of their Kobolds collection this month. Imitation of Life Miniatures has a new Modular Mutant, a Mutant Bust, and a Mysterious Stranger. House Barteth has new models for Marshall Miles and a Rogue Trader. Here is the rest of the Lure Fantasy Football team from Mythbull RN Studio. These Annihilator Cyborgs are the new units from channel patron The Dork Factory, and you can also get these Android Agents and Enigma Riders now too. The Ancient Centagon and other big bad brutes are coming from Clay Beast Creation this month. Goonmaster Games has Weasel Witches, Necromancer Cultists and Crow Skellies, Undead Big Cat Skellies, and more. Here's a new Soul Caller HQ unit and Wild Squall Artillery Tank from Imperatum Art. These are the Deepborn from Fleshcraft Studio. Kurzluck Miniatures has a small army of Oathbreaker Elves this month. Turn-Based Miniatures has new Covert Operators, Russian Mercenaries, and a Super Cobra Copter. Here is a machine girl, a vampire, and a bloodborne bust from Doses 3D. Here's the monthly group shot from Capsule Chibi. Wake's Emporium is working on small-scale avian mercs this month. Next month is Amazing Plant Monster Month from Print Your Monsters. Tiger Skull RPG has a new set of dungeon terrain, the Penitentiary of Souls. Epic's End Stuffs has a small flock of owlfolk this month. Here is the current lineup of Battle Nuns that Rageous Creations is working on. Raven Twin Miniatures has a dozen new Minotaurs for you, as well as a Chimera. Dinamu 3D has a couple different versions of Azula. Medberry Miniatures has Dwarves of the Sapphire Ridge this month. The Cursed Woods is the February set from Flesh of Gods Miniatures. Squamos Miniatures has new Arctic Recon troops, bikers, gorillas on stolen bikes, and a whole bunch of terrain. Titan Troll Miniatures has some new farmhands, a wastelander, and a bunch of new goblins. Blue Sky Minis has a buggy with a beastie launcher on the back, as well as a couple sneaky boys. Big Mr. Tong has new Corn Marines, Nakdrek Sludge Artillery, and Sea Devils. Manuel Boria has work-in-progress picks for a Baby Displacer Beast and a Dragonfolk Paladin. Knucklebones has a new Gunboat and Napoleonic Apocalypse Zombies. Channel patron Kyoshu Miniatures is working on Japanese and Mongol-themed fantasy minis, and German Dieselpunk minis for their sci-fi tier. Ronin Arts Workshop has new poses of old models, including fantasy football versions, as well as other new models and dioramas. Hell Creator has Red from Transistor and Vesemir from The Witcher 3. Diceheads has new minis and terrain for Capture the Conch, a Capture the Flag style scenario for their Zuntalis game. Schlossbauer has a bunch of new creepy creatures as usual, but also one Warforged that isn't so creepy. Sarli Factory has a whole bunch of apocalyptic ruins for their February release. .3DXM has an Indiana Jones chibi and a Black Symbiote Spider-Man chibi. Bright Minis has 8 new models, including dwarves, pig-faced orcs, a Sahagin, and more. Davale Games has previews up for their Forest Prince and Friend, as well as a Mercenary King on a Palanquin. Twin Goddess Miniatures has a whole tavern's worth of minis and scatter terrain. Duncan Shadow has multi-part beastmen, stone golems, and earth elementals, big and small. Black Remnant has new models for Bail Organa, Senate Guards, Bounty Hunters, and more. Signum Workshop has new models for their Unicorn Alliance, Black Marsh Horde, the Akari, and more. Black Crag Miniatures is working on a modular Lads kit this month. The February set from Daybreak Miniatures is The Knolls of Blood Forest. Edge Miniatures has Space Bikers from the Cursed Dimension. Lots of Eldritch creatures and more from Rocket Pig Games this month. Caballero Miniatures has a Fallen Knight for February, and a peek at what's coming in the future. Chibi STL has a new Ewok and Overwatch Reaper Chibis. Print Minis has a whole night market, including citizens, merchants, shops, watchmen, and more. Soulforge Studio has new light cruiser parts for their edgy space elves. Dark Realms has new homes and halls from the city of Odengard. Channel patron C27 Minis and Terrain has 5 new superhumans for you, as well as some nice city scatter terrain and diorama bases for a pair of battling warriors. Station Forge has a new Grimguard artillery truck and evaporators, as well as scavenger legionnaires, searchers, and assassinators. These are Nightmare, Elisa, and Jim Rayner from Prey Collection Studio. Here's some work-in-progress shots of the Rangers and terrain that Vevictus Miniatures is working on. Masterwork Tools is working on a Yawning Portal this month, as well as Goblin-Faced Fireplace and more. The Thanogigantes Coalition is the February release from 3D Art Digital. New models from Yasashi Kyojin Studio include a Yeti, a Sharken Bear, and Rakshasa. Comet Lord Miniatures has some creepy Sorrowborn, as well as a Lionman Bloodhunter, Tortle Pirate, Barbarian, and more. Here is the completed set of Goblin Brewers from Printed Obsession. Punga Miniatures is starting a new fantasy football team of Savage Orcs. Lots of mechs, vehicles, and more, like normal, from Gearguts' Mech Shop. Miyakei's new set is titled The Underworld. As well, here is a free lion and a Viking shaman model for you to download. Seb Miniatures have a set of mercenary girls this month, as well as a speeder and a few select other characters. Channel patron Great Grimoire has teasers up for their upcoming Road to the Afterlife set. Death is only the beginning. Last Sword Miniatures has new poses and models for their Quat Lord, Draconis Knights, Barbarian Berserkers, and Imperial Kindred Archers. Cobra Mode has a band of outlaws this month, as well as a little treat for the Lunar New Year. Ritual Casting have completed Anne Bonny, Legendary Pirate, and have previews up with all the available options. Asgard Rising has new Tundra Trolls and a Stone Troll, as well as modular conifers, including infected options. New models from Atlan Forge include an Archmage of the Aegyptus, Cybernetic Triceratops, and a sneak peek at a bear-mounted unit coming soon. Clay Cyanide Miniatures has several Sun Wukong models, and the rest is all based around Celtic mythology. STL Miniatures has previews up for 2 new sets, Painters and Shoemakers. Fotis Mint has a new Abyss Watcher figure and bust, as well as Old Man Logan as a bust. Channel patron Papsicels has released full previews of their Aliens vs. Skull Hunter set, with new hunters, chonky androids, Gigerian brood models, and more. The Dragon's Rest has a few new dungeon pieces, as well as a build guide for the many pieces they already have. Two new sets from RN Studio this month, Necro Warriors and Those Wonderful 80s Volume 2. High Elves of the Eternal Summits is the February release from Heroes Infinite. Bite the Bullet has a selection of chunky humans and a bakery, as well as a peek at the Foxfolk coming next month. Here's a Cyberpunk Special Response Team from Unit 9, as well as members of Horns Gang, Sleepless City Citizens, and more. Avatars of War has a Dark Elf riding a Manticore this month. The Printing Goes Ever On has part 2 of their Chapter 18, Wildmen of the Woods set, as well as a sneak peek at an Elephant Warbeast for Chapter 19. Lost Kingdom Miniatures has new Step Riders on Direwolves, their Mother Shaman, and some rocket artillery. Forest Dragon has Lizard Ogres, trolls and a new lord for their despoilers, as well as a regiment of elven spears. Highlands Miniatures has new Harbor Cossacks and the Iron Opinicus, a steam war machine. To counter the Archangels from last month, Broken Anvil Monthly has released their Daemonic Vengeance set for February. The Lost Continent from the Dragon Trapper's Lodge includes lots of dinos, dino hunters, and bone and lava scatter terrain. This group shot from One Gold Piece encompasses their January and February pirate mini-releases. Puppets War Miniatures has two variants of Air Strikers, Winged Alien Bugs, and Rocket Orcs. Bestiarum Miniatures is releasing Man-Eaters Part 2 this month. Gomek has more tanks and commissars for their sci-fi release, and more Spartan cast on the fantasy end. Cast and Play is serving up a royal feast this month, with nobles, servants, scatter terrain, and more. Mini Monster Mayhem is going Monster Catcher this February. This is just a few of the many fun models coming this month. Cyberforge has updated their Nitro Arena with new fighters, robot vendors, city security forces, and more. The second February set from Epic Miniatures is titled Yokai Mayhem with a cat dragon, monks, guardian tigers, Tengu fishfolk, a feudal temple tower, shogun, kitsune, and more. New models from the Maker's Cult include Hazmat Infantry, an Iron Hive Oppressor Axe, new Tempest Lords, Dark Crusaders, a Black Knight half-track, and more. Lord of the Prince February release includes a bunch of cute little kobolds, a Demogorgon, brown dragons, and more. First model of the month from MZ4250 is a male gladiator. They've also got cultists, berserkers, Kenku adventurers, and more. One-page rules will have new units for their Beastmen and Eternal Dynasties armies this month, as well as new spaceships, terrain, a dragon, and more. The Red Leaf Elves from Titanforge include a great forest dragon and other spirits of the forest, as well as regimented elves and new Titans of Adventure. The Trench, Blood in the Water from Archvillain Games includes sea dragons and lots of shark folk, as well as a few new members of their Archvillain Society. And finally for today, Artisan Guild has a herd of Minox stampeding out of their Order of the Labyrinth. And finally for today, Artisan Guild has a herd of Minox stampeding out of their Order of the Labyrinth February release. That's all for now. Thanks again to all my patrons on Patreon. Your support really means a lot to me. Check back next week for another Kickstarter countdown. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the videos, and thanks for watching.